Mystic portals are awesome. Beautiful, enigmatic, and alluring. As you can see in this phased battle map from DYSCRYB, the sponsor for today's video, but also filled with mysteries and terrifying temptation. They're a classic trope for a reason, and I've run some variation of this gag countless times. They're also a great example of how a little bit of finesse in your game mastering techniques can take good material and advance it into something amazing. If you can see through a portal, then it works just like any other door or archway. No problem. Things can get a little more interesting, though, if the portal really is indistinguishable from a normal archway or empty hallway. The PCs are just walking along and don't even realize that they've been portaled to another location until their maps stop making sense. If you're running in the theater of the mind, or you're drawing a battle map at the table, this is easy enough to pull off. But it gets a little harder if you're using pre-rendered maps on a virtual tabletop. The trick is that you just need to clone and rotate your map, attaching both ends of the portal together so that, on the screen, as in the game world, the PCs can simply continue exploring as if nothing unusual had happened. If the design of the dungeon allows for it, I recommend going 2 or 3 layers deep here, since it's likely the players will try to double back and otherwise challenge the geography in an effort to figure out what the heck is going on. Now, you can run into some physical impossibilities with this that will force alternative transitions in your virtual tabletop, but disguising the actual moment of transition in the game world from the players can still pay big dividends in actual play. And the big payoff is that you can create all kinds of crazy Escher-esque dungeons using these portals. Where the raw paranoia will really kick in at the table, though, is when the PCs can't see through the portal. In the classic Tomb of Horrors adventure, for example, there are misty archways and green devil faces with gaping maws of black energy that you can crawl through. What lies on the far side of such portals? Is it safe to go through them, or is it all some kind of elaborate trap or ambush? Another classic gimmick is the one-way portal. As soon as the PCs go through it, they turn around and find that they've been trapped on the other side. Now, often, of course, the PCs will also encounter a portal that isn't a one-way affair, but have no way of being certain about that. So either way, the day will come when you hear some variation of, "Okay, let's send Kitty Saw through first to check things out," or "I stick my 10-foot pole into the portal and pull it back out." So the first thing you'll want to do when running a magic portal is to know your metaphysic. What does happen when you stick something halfway into the portal and then pull it back out? There are 4 major variations here. First, no problem. It's just like a doorway in space, even if the field of energy blocks your line of sight. You might even be able to hear what's going on the other side. Second, you can't pull it out. Once an object has gone partially through the portal, the only movement allowed is forward through the portal. If you try and pull it back, it will feel as if the object is stuck in space. Third, it's incredibly dangerous to do that. You can try and pull it back, but you'll only pull back the portion of the object that's still on this side of the portal. When the time comes, you're going to want to make sure you walk through this type of portal with confidence. Fourth, that's not possible, because as soon as any object or creature touches the surface of the portal, it instantly vanishes and reappears on the other side. It's more of a touch here to activate effect than it is a literal gateway in space. This last one, though, can get a little trickier than you think, though. If I touch it with a pole, is it only the pole that disappears, or do I go with it? Can I tie a rope to an object hundreds of feet away, toss the other end of the rope through the portal, and have the object vanish too? What if the object is bolted to the floor, or it's a huge tree and the room on the other side is only 10 feet by 10 feet? But conversely, if I touch it with my hand, do I disappear but leave my clothes behind? One way to simplify this metaphysic is to create a threshold in front of the portal. A misty arch, a field of energy, a penumbral aura, or the entire room that the portal is in. Any other such portal will work too. In any case, the reason you want to have a clear understanding of the portal's metaphysic is because the players will want to experiment with the portal and figure out how it works. Or, more importantly, whether it's safe or not. They're going to come up with all kinds of crazy tests, so you really want to have a clear conceptual framework for consistently ruling what the outcomes of those tests will be. Now, personally, I think it's important that the metaphysic you come up with feels consistent with the portal's behavior on the other side. If it's a one-way portal, for example, then you shouldn't be able to stick things through the portal, a 10-foot pole or a rock tied to a rope, and then pull them back. You should play fair, in other words, and reward players who take the effort to explore and engage deeply with the scenario. Now, what happens when the PCs actually take the plunge and go through the portal? Well, if they all go through at the same time, then, they all go together. Describe the moment of transition, the flash of light, or the momentary feeling of non-existence, or the oily grease slick of the arcane sluicing across their skin, and then describe what they see on the other side. That's super easy. Where it gets more interesting, though, is when the PCs decide to send a scout through the portal first. When they do that, if it's a one-way portal, I recommend using a portal countdown. Don't immediately describe what the scout sees. Instead, stay with the PCs that remain behind. Describe the scout going through the portal, disappearing, and then what do? You don't need to roll for initiative here, but what you're basically doing is shifting to combat time. Keep track of the number of rounds it takes for each of the other characters to go through, and then once they've all done so, you can flip to the other side of the portal and accurately play out events on the other side. So, for example, Kitty Soft walks into the portal, the other PCs wait a couple of rounds, and then Adana sticks her 10-foot pole through. Unable to pull it out, she sighs and steps through on the next round. Everyone else then nervously follows on the 5th round. Now cut to the other side of the portal. Kitty Soft emerges into a goblin ambush. Roll initiative. On the 3rd round of combat, Adana's pole sticks out of the portal. On the 4th round, Adana walks out, and on the 5th round, the other PCs finally join the fray. Even if there's nothing immediately, interesting happening on the other side of the portal countdown, for example, Kitty Soth emerges into an empty room and just waits patiently for everyone else to join her, the experience is still immersive and tantalizing in its paranoia. What is happening on the other side of the portal? Now, when there is something happening on the other side of the portal, the dramatic tension of seeing the other side of the timeline playing out is a ton of fun. Okay, now let's do a little troubleshooting for how you can handle some common scenarios here. First, what if all the PCs don't come through? That's fine, actually. Run a couple of rounds of the portal countdown, but when it becomes clear that some or all of the other PCs aren't going to follow Kitty Soth blindly through the portal, just ask them how long they'd wait, write that down in your countdown, and then cut to the other side of the portal. Second, should you have the players leave the room when they step through the portal? You certainly can, but I haven't found that to be strictly necessary. Getting to see both sides of the portal interaction can be a lovely source of dramatic irony. On the other hand, the experience of being sent into another room and waiting while your fellow players join you one by one can also be mysterious and fun. Play it by ear and get a feel for what works. Now, third, what if it's not a one-way portal? Well, as long as the players think that it might be, I recommend using the portal countdown, if for no other reason than that you don't want to tip your hand when it is a one-way portal. But this is trickier. The technique works almost flawlessly with a one-way portal because the two sides of the portal are firewalled from each other. Kitty Soth, for example, can't just walk back through the portal. This might be a good time to take the initial scout to another room, describe what they see on the other side of the portal, and get a sense of what their intention is. Are they going straight back? Are they going to explore for a bit? Do they get cut off from the portal by the goblin ambush waiting for them? Whatever happens, once you know what's happening, you can go back to the rest of the group and resolve things from there. It's also not the end of the world if Kitty Soth comes back, early and interrupts the portal countdown. You can just retcon the rest of that countdown. Those actions, although declared, never actually happened. Or maybe they belong to an alternative version of reality. Premature returns aren't the only continuity glitches you might need to work around. For example, Kitty Soth might try to initiate telepathic contact with her comrades after getting stuck on the other side of the portal, or she might grab the end of Adana's pole and yank her through a round early. Again, this is the type of thing we, wring our hands over in theory, but in actual practice, it's just not that big a deal. You just adjust and you roll with it. Meanwhile, what exactly is Kitty Soth yanking Adana into on the other side of that portal? It might be a fairy realm. Perhaps the portal emerges into an abandoned elven village which lies upon the borders of that place. This village, once home to the people of leaf and song, lies silent now. No sounds of children playing, no bustle of commerce, No music from flutes or lyrical elven voices. Plants and trees, once tenderly cared for, now grow wild among the abandoned buildings of this empty place. DYSCRYB, the sponsor of today's video, offers interactive maps, an incredible sonic library, and lush descriptions created by an incredible team of professional RPG designers, like the one you just heard. Using their tools, you can weave these components into comprehensive compositions, scenes and immersive environments ready to be unleashed at your tabletop. DYSCRYB also has pre-built scenes and environments like the Plane of Fairy, where our dear friend Kittysoth has found herself stranded. You can find a magical portal to the DYSCRYB website down in the font of all knowledge, if you'd like to check out their free resources. Make an attack of opportunity on the subscribe button while you're down there. Good gaming. I'm Justin Alexander, and I'll see you at the table.